Hey, it's Vaughn. Welcome back to Spin the Rock. If you want to listen to us in any podcast format, we're on all podcast platforms. If you need to keep up with us, search us up on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and enjoy the episode.
Hello and welcome back to the Spin Around Podcast. I'm your host Angel, and with me today are my co-hosts.
Eugene?
And Vaughn.
All right, it's been a while, but we actually have a completely different episode, a first timer for us, and also some updates and even a March Madness update. So I'm gonna start with Malik Monk is out with a sprained knee from 4 to 6 weeks. How do y'all feel about this? How does this affect the Kings?
I mean, Malik Monk is probably the sixth man of the year winner. I believe he's eligible. He's got 72 games played, so he's probably running away with that. Uh, but I think the impressive part of the season for him is he's averaging career highs in points and assists, 15 and 5 off the bench. And this Kings team has already had some players struggling to find the rhythm or just have not taken leaps as expected, be it Kevin Huerter or Davion Mitchell. So I love the Kings as of last year, but it definitely really hurts them in the standing race as it goes. I guess De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis are going to have to hard carry from here on out.
Yeah, I think last time that I checked the standings, they were sitting at like 6. So, with all these injuries that they have right now, it could lead to other teams, hopefully the Lakers, getting some spots over them or whatever. But um, yeah, it'll probably hurt more than help anything.
Yeah, especially because right now it's like a chase to be out of the play-in because the Kings are eighth now, but they're only two games behind the fifth seed, which is the Pelicans. So it's not like they're completely like their season was over. Oh, I meant no, yeah, okay. And they're also only 4 games behind the Clippers, who are like fourth. So it's just like at a time like this where if you get a push, it could be the difference of being the 10th seed to the fourth seed. Like it kind of hurts them a lot when you have like the runaway winner for the 6 man like out for as much as 6 weeks, and like especially with leg injuries, like you never know if
Mm-hmm.
it's even they're gonna be like fine when they get back.
Right. And especially, that 4 to 6 weeks is like hella crucial right now too, given we're basically at the end of the season. So even if the Kings make a deep playoff run, they're gonna need as many bodies as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And with Monk being Monk, who he is, um, he's a vital player on that team. So I mean, hopefully a speedy recovery, but we'll see.
Yeah. Moving on to talk about Brunson first. Brunson had a 60-point game um not too long ago. I mean, how do you feel about this as someone as like we're all avid Knicks haters, but at the same time, I don't think any of us are Brunson haters. So how do y'all feel about this?
I mean, I'm not a Brunson fan, but
Yeah.
I won't say I'm hating on him. It's more like a RJ Barrett case. Like I'm not a RJ fan, but I'm sleep. You know what I'm saying? So, like, don't get me wrong, he is a good player, but it was on the Spurs, so it was kind of like, all right, whatever. But 60-60, so um good for him. Hopefully he does more going forward.
It's so wild for me to think of all the Knicks players that have been there since Carmelo Anthony. Like Carmelo's the last Knick to have a 60-point game there. It wasn't
That's
Julius
crazy.
Randle, it wasn't RJ Barrett, it was Jalen Brunson with the 60 piece. And the part that stings about that is it came in an L. Like that's to really hurt. Like Devin Booker's 70-point game in an L. Like all that points just for
Just to
nothing.
lose, literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I wouldn't say I'm a Brunson fan, but I like him. I like how he was able to like a contract that like when it first happened, we were like, what are the Knicks doing? Like typical like poverty Knicks, like what are y'all doing? But like I feel like he's proving his worth more and more every year. And like now it's kind of looking like okay, like what did they know? But I think one thing for sure that like blows my mind is just like Brunson was on the Mavs. Like imagine Brunson on the Mavs right now, bro. With the way Luke and Kyrie be cooking. Oh, so yeah, it just blows my mind how much talent has left the Mavs. All right, and then another pretty historic game. Wemby got the stat line of 40-20. How do y'all feel about this? Is the rookie of the year race pretty much over? What do y'all think?
I mean, like it was kind of locked up even early on, despite how much Chet has proved to be a good rookie. But like I expected him to be good, like as everyone did, but at the same time, I really didn't think there'd be a 40-20 game in his rookie season.
Mhm.
So that was impressive. So I mean, it's kind of scary what's coming in the next, you know.
Yeah,
I still think it goes to Chet, but that's all I'll say.
just don't put money on it because Wemby's basically won it, bro.
When he got drafted, but
It's crazy though, because they're like the worst team in the West, and Wemby's putting up numbers like that, bro. That's actually insane. Like how good Wemby is, but it's just like not showing up for the Spurs.
well,
Um,
given his teammates and
no,
everything, his
no, for
like
sure.
his potential, he's already shown his potential, but he's not holding himself back. His teammates are holding himself back. He could probably average 50, and then I would be like, all right, well, Wemby got it, but I don't know. I think it's just his teammates really holding him back.
It's like LeBron's rookie year, his teammates were kind of like doubting him too, but like they were like vets on that team basically. These guys are like 2-3 years older than him.
Right, like 23, 24, like
Was it Jeremy Sohan? He was last year, and he's a Wemby hater.
exactly.
Like I don't know what. I guess like when you're that big of a name, it's just bound to happen. But I am surprised, just like the way they're looking. But I honestly think I'm not one of those people who are already predicting Wemby leaving. Like those people are insane. They're already like, when is Wemby leaving the Spurs? It's like let's wait and see like what they do first.
Well, you can't
Yeah,
even
like
leave out of your rookie contract. So he's literally there for at least like 3 years.
No facts, but like that's what I'm saying. People are already predicting where he would go in 2027. Like it's insane.
like we need to see him with an actual point guard first before we can
Mhm.
judge like does he need to see his way out in order to succeed, you know.
Yeah, but I feel like the Spurs are smart enough. They're gonna build around him for sure. All right, March Madness update. Last time we talked about it, it hasn't even started, and now we're in the final eight, and then the final four, and both the men's and the women. So it's been a while. How much have you guys been watching, and what do you think so far?
It feels like every game I turn on, it's always UConn playing. So I think I've seen them play the most, and they look good. I won't lie. Like I don't really want to see them win, but they're cooking.
Yeah, unfortunately they're going back to back. I saw a crazy stat while I was watching the SDSU versus UConn game. I think their smallest margin of victory because they showed all of the games that they won in the tournament from this year and last year up until that point. Their smallest margin of victory that I saw, I think, was 17 points.
That's
So,
crazy.
yeah, they're a lock to win it all, and it's only them and Purdue currently as it's only them and Purdue as the 2 1 seeds, playing in the Final Four. So, but do you want me to summarize my experience of watching it, or do you just want
Go
me to
for
talk
it.
about everything?
Yeah,
Go
let's hear
for
it.
it.
Okay, well, SDSU had a pretty good run until we went against UConn, and then we got our backs blown the fuck out. So
I know y'all
Not-
made it to the Sweet 16 again. I was like, okay, let's go.
literally when I was filling out my brackets before all the games started, I was like, all right, all right, all right. And then I saw a potential UConn SDSU game, which I figured was probably going to happen anyway. And we got ran through by 30. So, and then UConn just played yesterday against Illinois, and they almost lost by 40. So,
Jesus.
yeah, UConn is them. Let's see the upsets real quick. Oh yeah, big upset. Yale versus Auburn in the first round. That one was pretty crazy. BYU got upset by Duquesne in the first round. Grand Canyon versus St. Mary's, upset in the first round. Let's see. Oh, Houston lost 2 yesterday against Duke. That was a pretty big upset. Yesterday, I think. But that was because that player, that the point guard we were talking about, Jamal Shed, he got hurt during that game. JMU over Wisconsin in the first round, pretty big upset. I think that's all of them for the first round. Oregon versus Creighton in the second round went to double overtime. That was a pretty big game. Creighton ended up walking away with that one. Purdue beat Utah State by 40. I think Edey played today and had, let me look at his stats. He had a 40-point game. Edey played today. Where's box score? He had 40 and 16. So I think he's a lock in the NBA draft this year. I'm not gonna lie. Any more upsets? No. Well, Clemson over Baylor. That was a 6v3. Yeah, no more like real big upsets, but overall, I think the tournament has been pretty exciting from all the games I've been watching. So I'm excited for the Final Four. It's UConn versus Alabama. And then Purdue's waiting for the winner of whoever's playing now. So
I think it's Duke and NC State.
So it should be Purdue versus Duke, but we'll see. NC State is the Cinderella story right now because they're 11 seed.
Yeah. My experience. I talked about in the last podcast how I don't care about college basketball. And this year I was like, you know what? Let me root for both Colorado and CU. Bro, we lost so early, our round wasn't even named. Like, we didn't get no sweet or elite or final. We got first and second. That's how early we lost in March Madness. It was cool. I mean, it was like fun to watch them play for the first time. Like, I actually tried to like be a Colorado native and care about our colleges. I can see why I didn't though. I think it was Colorado made it to the second round and we lost to Marquette. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure Colorado State lost in the first four.
No, they beat Virginia by 20. And then and we lost to Texas, KD's Texas.
Yeah.
So we lost to them pretty badly. CU did great. Like I said, they made it to the second round, lost to Marquette. I don't think does college basketball go to 100s?
No. So
No, because
like
yeah,
when Purdue made like hit 100 to win by 40, like it was crazy. I think Alabama did too.
yeah. Well, so did Colorado and Florida. They both like went to 100. It was like 102 to 100. I
Right.
was like, what? I was like, I thought this was like a rare thing.
Bro, it's so rare, bro.
Yeah. Um, but that's about it. I kind of just been peeping here and there. I've been seeing the highlights. Mostly my March Madness viewing has been restaurants and social media now. Um, I'm not rooting for anyone. I'm obviously going against Purdue because like that just like I just hate the thought of Purdue being good at basketball. It just makes me mad for some reason. Like I don't know why. And then I actually have been keeping up with the women's side just because like Angel Reese, Clayton Clark, like the women's players this year are like they're good personalities. So I've been keeping up with that. Um, we got a LSU Iowa rematch already, which is
Again,
insane.
literally. I think,
Yeah,
bro, I don't know if it's because like they played the same exact way they did last year, so they ended up, being the same seeds or whatever. But literally, that whole like part of the region was almost identical. It's actually
yeah.
crazy.
And then the Colorado women's actually went pretty far. Went to the Sweet 16. That was pretty. Or CU, CU went pretty far. I don't know about the actual. I don't know about Colorado State. I don't even think we. I'm looking. I don't even see us on this bracket to be honest. um, but yeah, and then of course, is it South Carolina who's like the insane women's team?
Yeah, USC,
Bro, they're like, yeah, they're insane.
bro.
Like,
My dad doesn't watch any sports, but when it comes to March Madness, that's all he cares about, bro. Crazy.
that's fire. I love that. But yeah, any other opinions, Vaughn? Do you want to chime in at all?
Okay, I've been hate watching. First, I was hate watching Houston. They lost, and then I just jumped on hate watching UConn, and now I need to see them lose.
That's fire. I love that. Yeah, it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be insane to see who wins because like they're both like it seems like every good team, or not every, but like it seems like all the main front runners are still in right now in both sides. So we'll see. We'll see if there's any upsets. Real quick, we're not gonna go 1 through 10, but we are just gonna talk about the standings because it's been a while and it'll be nice to check in.
I
So
think some
starting,
things have changed.
yeah. So let's go with the more, unfortunately, boring side. Even though I'm an East advocate, we're not gonna say who's 1 through 10, but like who stands out to you in the East standings the most. Well, Eugene looks I can go first. I think it's time to put some respect on Palo's name, bro. The Magic are fifth right now. And I don't, and people are, I was telling Vaughn this not too long ago. People are hating on Palo for some reason. And it's kind of wild that a second year is getting as much uh heat for what they're doing. Like they're fifth seed and he's getting hated on. It's actually insane. This is supposed to be a poverty team.
Right. It's also kind of weird. Like he was getting like beloved last year, and I
No
hated
fact.
him. Like I was a Pablo hater last year. So that is kind of weird that you bring it up, but yeah, I think. Well, I mean the Sixers too. They've taken a steep drop off. They're under the
Yeah,
heat now.
that's gonna
It's
be my
insane.
mention. Like the Bulls, like if the Bulls can go on a win streak, they can definitely take the Sixers spot there. They've been looking sorry without Joel Embiid.
Right. And then it'll be the Sixers fighting for a play-in spot. Well, I mean, actually, they will be right now, but yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like they have to go into defense mode and just fight for that playing spot.
Mm. And they're on a 3-game losing streak right now. It's got to be Sixers. Okay.
I think another note is the Heat. I know they're not like a regular season team, but it's getting late and they're still kind of just iffy. Like their last 10, they're 5-5. And despite them having like Jaime Jaquez, Terry Rozier additions, they don't look better than last year. You know,
Mm-mm.
They
like those
aren't.
players are
Yeah.
yeah, those players are probably better than like a Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, but they knew their roles better. I would say
Mm.
that's kind of concerning for them.
But I also think, at least in Jaime's situation, he is a rookie, as opposed to like a Gabe Vincent who, developed in the G League, so he kind of already like, knew how to play in the NBA of sorts. Terry Rozier can't really explain, but it might just be a weird system for him because I feel like the Heat, with Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley is kind of like, different than like the whole rest of the NBA, kind of like the Warriors and Steve Kerr. So he might just kind of still be acclimating, but yeah, the Heat, we'll see if they go on another run.
No, facts. Well, it's also like they can easily get out of there. It's just like, will they?
Right.
It's just like it'll be interesting to see if they'll have to do like, was it like a third play-in run in a row right now?
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be insane. If they can get out of that play-in spot, they might be deadly, but like who knows?
Is that it for East?
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Bucks real quick because of that stat I saw where it
Oh,
was Doc Rivers is was it 13 and 14 with the Bucks? And the person they fired was Adrian Griffin was 30 and 13 and he was fired. Doc Rivers right now 14 and 13. That's actually insane that you fired the man with that good of a record. Like that's insane.
the
It's so insane.
only thing I can think of is if Adrian Griffin had some crazy off the court, like issues that they didn't want to be a part of. That's the
No.
only thing that I could think of. But other than that, I don't know why they would have fired him, bro.
I know what it is, bro. They crumbled. Milwaukee crumbled at the fan backlash and panic and fired a good coach instead of waiting it out. That's what happened. They were like, "Oh no, they're right. We should be one seed with with Dame and Giannis. Get him out of here and bring the guy who couldn't get out the first round with the Sixers."
And now we're
Knowing
2 games
the
ahead of the third seed.
knowing that Doc Rivers was helping consult Adrian Griffin, who knows? Maybe those 13 losses Adrian Griffin had are because of Doc Rivers.
No facts.
He could have really been undefeated, but we'll never know. Yeah, I don't know. The Bucks, I can't say we're on the struggle bus, per se, but it's more like I guess a struggle bus within the top like 4 teams. You know what I'm saying?
This might be an episode maybe, but like if there was a team I would want in the playoffs, it's the Bucks. They don't look scary right now, bro.
Right.
Like nothing about them is terrifying. Of course, Giannis, like don't get me wrong, like Giannis and Dame are scary, but the Bucks as a whole, like Doc Rivers alone makes them not a scary team to play against.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's all weird. We'll see how they end up. They might even end up worse than last year. We'll see though.
Okay, we can move on to West now. Who stands out to you the most?
I gotta say, we mentioned Gabe Vincent earlier. Is that man playing this season?
No.
No. Okay.
That's
Well,
crazy.
Kendrick Nunn 2.0, and regardless, Lakers are breathing down the Kings' back right now, and honestly, the Suns' back. They're right. They're like 1.5 games behind the Kings, and the Kings, with the recent injuries, Lakers could break away from like slipping out. Unlike Warriors, to be honest, Warriors have to deal with that 10 spot against the Rockets on was it 12-game win streak right now?
Bro, 10 and 12 game win
Mm.
streak. That's insane.
So they really fighting for that play-in. Like really fighting.
I don't know. Typical having a child makes you snap because Jalen Green is on one all of a sudden. Man's went from like, who is this bum on my court to like, I gotta feed my kid. Like, I don't
Bro
know
got
what
a
happened.
bro got a family to feed, bro.
Yeah, no facts. You said no more contested threes. There's more on the line than like, it's insane. I personally was like kind of doubting the Rockets. At first, I was really into them, and then the season started, and I was kind of like, okay, like maybe I was wrong. But if they can get into that playing spot and knock out the Warriors, that's a generational turnaround, bro.
That
If
would
they
be
knock
crazy.
out the Warriors, when was the last time the Warriors missed any postseason?
They got bounced in the play-in by the Grizzlies, I think, 3 years
Yeah,
ago.
but they were in the play-in still. Like,
True.
imagine them no postseason whatsoever.
That'd be some like LeBron, yeah, like
That's
LeBron kind of
insane.
stuff. Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I feel like you could say most of this Western Conference is just surprising. I know, the Wolves and Thunder, well, the Wolves specifically have been, number one for like the whole season. But it's like, bro, the Nuggets were number one also the entire season last year, and they're sitting at third right now. Like,
yeah.
what happened to the Wolves to get them to that point? It can't only be Ant. I mean, it could be, but
No, it's
him coming off of this feeble run literally turned him into Jordan, bro. Like,
what's crazy is that like it really isn't just Ant because like Cat and Gobert are working now. Like,
right.
I don't know what happened. Same with the Thunder. The Thunder like got bounced like in the play-ins, I'm pretty sure. So like
Mhm.
they're now they're up there with the NBA champions. Like, it's insane.
Right. And then like the Suns, I think they're probably like two for me because it's like, bro, you got three arguably of the best scorers in the league. How have you not been able to figure it out by now?
Mhm.
So we'll see because they're gonna go against the Thunder, right?
No, they'll go
No?
against the Kings. They'll be in the play-ins.
Oh, it's 7 through 10.
7 through
Yeah.
10 is play-ins, yeah. So
Okay.
they'll be Suns Kings. Like if it was right now, it'd be Suns Kings. Whoever wins is automatically going through, and
And
then
plays
whoever,
the Thunder.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know, bro. That's I don't know who I'd be more scared of. The Thunder or the Suns.
mm,
I don't know. We'll see though. I think the Thunder could definitely I think they could sweep the Kings. We'll see about the Thunder
yeah. I don't know.
or the Suns, sorry.
I honestly, the playoffs is gonna be interesting this year because the Mavs are 6, which beats my prediction. I said never above 7, and they're sitting comfortably. Well, not comfortably, but they're sitting like 6, like
They haven't
positive.
moved. Yeah.
Yeah, they're on a 6-game win streak, but at the same time, it's like the Mavs can be scary in the playoffs if Luka and Kyrie keep doing this. But at the same time, all it takes is like one bad game from one of them, and like the Mavs are an easy sweep. Like,
Mhm.
so it's like the Western playoffs is going to be like a bloodbath this year.
Right.
I think this might be a hot take, but I would be more afraid to face the Mavericks than the Suns because the
Mhm.
Mavericks, at least Luca and Kyrie, work with their personnel. They know what they've got, even though like maybe some of them struggle if they were on a different team. But with the Suns, it's very one note. It's either give it to KD, give it to Book, or give it to Bradley Beal. If those
Mhm.
other guys are shooting it, like you got nothing to be worried about.
Yeah. This might have to be an episode where we talk about who we want and who we don't want.
Seriously.
Down. Down.
Yeah, because I'm looking at some West and I'm like, I personally would want the Pelicans. Like, even though they're 5th and have been top 5 for a while, I would like if it was like hypothetically, if Pelicans like met the Nuggets in the second round, Like I'm like, let's go, easy. Western Conference Finals. Here we come. So I'm just, yeah. There might have to be an episode. Any other mentions?
That's it for me.
Same.
All right. For the first time ever, we actually have questions from people who aren't on this. Well, not questions, but takes from people who are not on this podcast. We have a little mailbag here. Um. So yeah. So the theme was unpopular opinions about basketball in general. Of course, it was mostly about NBA, but I have some stuff that's like I have a couple opinions that are more broadly and one specifically about the 90s. So how do you guys want to do this? Do you want to do ours first or do you want me to do the ones I have first? What do you want to
I mean, I don't think it really matters. We can just go
Yeah,
one
we
by
go
one
through
down
them.
the list. Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'll just do the ones I have now then, just so that way we could talk about that and then we can go to ours. So the first one I have is, let's see. This one is from a group chat me and Eugene is in, and it's kind of along the whole line of we're over the 90s. The 90s is over, and it's Kyrie would average more than Jordan in the 90s. How do you all feel about that take?
I mean, Kyrie's bag is deeper for sure, but it's also just like an era thing, you know? So it's like I feel like you can say that, but then at the same time, you know, we can't really obviously we can't know for sure, but you know, times were different and fouls, you know, not were hardly called, but you know, they were a lot different than they are now. Um it's not that he even shoots a lot of free throws to get, you know, to get points, but also the three ball wasn't as heavy back then as it is now. So I feel like you can say that. Like if you place the Kyrie now back in, you know, the prime 90s, he probably would average more than Jordan, but it's just like it's like a gray area, you know?
Yeah,
I think it's actually really possible there's certain seasons where he'd have the scoring title over Jordan, but I also think he'd have a shorter career. Did you look at Kyrie? He's had like some knee surgeries, some ankle surgeries, and that's like modern sports science lengthening his career. Like he could have a Penny Hardaway career where like he's great for the first 6 seasons and injuries take hold. Especially when it's more physical in the 90s. Like Kyrie could definitely hang in there, but he could. I think those injuries would catch up to him eventually.
yeah, yeah. I agree. It's a gray area. It's hard to say like one will be better than blah blah blah. But if like let's say we did put Kyrie now, I think like the way they kind of sagged off with the 3-pointer, I think he would just let them fly until they started guarding him, and naturally that would just add up to averaging more. But I think eventually, like it's one of those things where like people adapt, so obviously it would start to fade away, and they would start guarding him at the 3-point line.
Mm.
So, and like Vaughn said, like it's rougher. And so people like Kyrie who were shifty in that time and era did always like Grant Hill also was someone who like got injured and injuries just like kind of like never went away, and he was a kind of shifty drive to the basket kind of player.
And these were like way bigger guys than Kyrie too. So it's
Yeah,
like if they're getting hurt, you know, like this, imagine Kyrie, bro.
yeah, exactly. All right, moving on. We're going from the 90s to now. Someone said Timberwolves will not go to the finals.
Is that an unpopular take? I feel like that's very real. Like yeah,
That's
first seed, but like it remains to be seen how they perform in playoffs.
Right. Especially because they haven't ever been this high. At least, you know,
Yeah.
as of recent times.
Hmm. I think even with Cat, they never been like it's been. I don't think. I think if you look it up, they might have never ever been this
Right.
high.
I didn't know. That's why I didn't say that. But yeah, I don't know if the Wolves have ever been a 1 seed or at least finished 1 seed. So we'll see. But I don't know if that's necessarily an unpopular opinion. I think people would
2003,
agree with that.
2004 was the last time they were first seed.
That was KG's MVP season, maybe.
And then after that, it was the highest after that was fourth. And then it's when you look through, it's like 13th, 11th, 13th, 12th. Yeah. So it's been exactly 20 years since the last time they were first seed. That's actually insane. Yeah, I don't think it's I feel like it depends on who you are. I feel like if you're someone who's not actively online and talking basketball, people expect first seeds to do good. And as someone like us three, like we know that first seeds typically like doesn't mean they're automatically like we've seen it with the Jazz, like they never went to the finals when it was Mitchell and Gobert, and they were the first seed a lot. So I think it's like it depends on who you are if it's an unpopular opinion or not. Because some
But
people do look at the first seed and like, yeah, they're gonna win it all, and it's like not necessarily.
it also depends how it lines up though, because with the whole play-in situation,
Mm,
if the play-ins weren't a thing and the playoffs started right now, they'd be going against the Kings, which I'm sure they could probably win.
mm,
But since the playoffs or the play-ins are a thing, they would have to go against the Kings, Lakers, Warriors, or possibly maybe the Rockets.
mm.
They might fold in that first round.
Yeah,
Depends on who they play, but we'll see. I don't
we
know.
saw it happen to the Bucks. They lost to
Yeah,
the Heat, and they were a
exactly.
playing team. So, yeah, I can see why it's unpopular, but I can also see why like you could also be like that's not unpopular at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have someone said raise the draft age. I don't know.
To what?
I don't know. That's all they said.
Why? So
That
we
was a
don't
bot
see
account.
right. So we don't see one and dones. I don't.
Maybe they're just a big college fan, and they're just like, I'm sick of this.
I mean, it definitely is an unpopular opinion because we were all confused, by that. Of like,
I specifically added in because it's the complete opposite of people who want to bring back high school draftees.
mhm,
So that's
mhm,
why I put it in. Um, so that's why I included because like the complete opposite of what we've been hearing, which is bring back high school picks.
right.
Just there wouldn't be like a benefit if you raise it to like 20 because a guy who's NBA ready at 19 is just going to go to the NBA, like John Morant, for example,
Yeah.
Mhm,
or Zion Williamson. Like they do fine in the NBA.
mhm,
And if a player wants to stay in college, that has never not been an option. There's
Mm,
guys that stay 4 years because they need it.
yeah.
Um, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't. I couldn't even explain why bro said that, but
And then the last of mine, because I think Eugene also has one that's from a non-host. Teams only rely on stars. So this is a take that is very much a thing on like most specifically the toxic wasteland that is NBA Twitter. That teams only rely on stars nowadays. That stars have too much power. What do y'all think about that?
Oh,
I don't. I don't know how unpopular that is, but I agree with it.
Mm,
Cause like, bro, when you think about it, more or less, the LeBrons, the Currys, the KDs, You could probably even put Luke in that conversation now. The Kyries, the Giannis's. Like they have a lot of power over their team, and they can essentially tell them what they want, and it's up to the team's discretion, obviously, but they either will or they won't do what they're asking for, demanding for. So like more or less, they kind of depend on superstars, but also you have teams like the Thunder where it's like they do have SGA, who is the superstar on their team, but they also built around him, which is why they're sitting atop, the Western Conference.
Mhm.
But then you also have teams like the Raptors who have nobody and don't know what they're doing anymore. So it's kind of like I do agree with it, but you have to have a superstar, obviously, to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like you brought up the Raptors about how they have nobody and now they're falling apart, but like we also seen the Raptors get carried by a star,
Right?
a whole ass ring. Like so I agree for sure with the Stars have a little too much power because like if Luca wanted out right now, like the Mavs franchise would be in shambles for like if he put his foot down. But at the same time, only rely on Stars is kind of too broad because like we've seen the Nets fail. We've seen, you know, the Nets fail when they had KG and Paul Pierce. We've seen the Celtics when they built their super team, they got one ring and then they fell apart like the years afterwards. So I think it just depends on the situation. There's definitely examples that prove that point, and there's examples that disprove that point.
Mm.
I also say like like it's a bad thing, which it doesn't have to be. Like if you got a superstar, of course you're gonna rely on him. Like you got LeBron on the team, you don't want LeBron shooting as many shots as Torian Prince. It just makes zero sense. Like, do they expect every team to be the Detroit Pistons with Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, Rip Hamilton? Like, even they were all four All Stars at one point.
Yeah.
So, like, team construction, there's different ways to go about it, but generally, you got like your two big scorers or two big names, and the rest you work around it. So, I see why it would be a weird take, but it doesn't have to be in the sense like it's not a thing team should do. Just
Mm.
whatever the GM does, whatever the GM does.
Well, that's all I have. If Eugene, you want to hit us with yours, the one that you have.
Yeah, let me search for it real quick. Here we go. So one of my buddies said, this is the worst year of college basketball in a long time. Not much hype for March Madness this year. I don't know any players, and everyone good is in the G League or overseas now. And then he rambled on a little bit more. But basically what he was saying was, this is the worst year in college basketball and probably the least amount of hype for March Madness this year.
As someone who doesn't watch college basketball, I can't really add to it. But something that stood out to me is like there's like not many good players. Have heard that sentiment that the draft is gonna be weak this year, which I don't know how true that is, but like it's bound to happen. Not every year is gonna be a banger draft year. So I think it is kind of an overreaction in my opinion. Because that's been a sentiment I've seen a lot this year. It's like, oh, it's this guy and no one else. No one else matters. But like, I feel like it can't be like all Wemby years, all Morant and Zion years. There's gonna be weak years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just don't have those guys that you just said. Like it's kind of a pull, like an initial pull to the tournament if you got like a Zion or a Jaw. But at the same time, these are college ball is so much more team oriented. Like it's hard to say if like those guys are what's carrying March Madness. You know, like we just saw Zach Edey crazy, but maybe it's because like there's more good big men and maybe less so athletic guards that are killing it this year. That could be part of it. But also, it is kind of hard for me to say because I don't watch the regular season for most of these teams.
Yeah. I think you have more to say on this than us, Eugene.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch college basketball regular season a whole lot, but it's really just like for me personally, this is going to be the first year where I don't probably know more than 5, 10, players that are going to get drafted this year. I'm not going to know probably any, to be honest. But like, I won't say the class is weak per se. I'm not exactly sure who's declaring and who's not. But the ones that I do know of, it seems like that it'll still be pretty good. But I don't think, one player that the media covers, makes the draft strong, Like we've had plenty of draft classes where you could even argue last year, like it was just Wemby, Chet, and then it was like who else kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if this class will necessarily be weak per se, but it's just like the media isn't covering college basketball to where they're just focusing on like one special, gifted, talented, freak athlete. You know what I'm saying? I might have just happened, but
like the discourse has been more team oriented. Like what was that take? Was it Mike Greenberg said UConn could be in East playoffs right now? First off, no. But like even Paolo had to come out and respond like I don't think any college team's winning one game in the NBA. Like that's the sort of talk that's going around. It's like teams versus star players.
I hate that. See, it's one thing to say like they could beat the Pistons or the Wizards, but it's a whole nother thing to say they could be in the playoffs, bro. That's insane. Actually, like insane. Yeah. I also want to point out that like kind of like what Eugene said though, hindsight's 2020. There had been drafts where like at the time was hyped, but then you look back now and you're like, oh, the draft class sucked. Whereas you do the opposite, like Donovan Mitchell was like slept on. Like no one knew who Donovan Mitchell was going into that draft. Unless you were really, really locked into prospects. You did not know who Donovan Mitchell was. And then it got to the point where people was mad that he didn't win it. Like that's how like you never really know how draft classes are gonna turn out. Kind of like Eugene said last year, it was like Wemby, Brandon Knight, Scoot, like rookie of the year race is gonna be a lot more competitive than people think it is. Two of those guys are like Brandon Knight is doing better, but Scoot Henderson is not doing great at all. Like, so it's just like you never know. I also want to say that like we're focusing on the men's side, but women's college basketball is like getting bigger and bigger every day. So like it's probably the best year for them. So
yeah, actually on the other hand too,
there is some hope.
Yeah, exactly. Cause like not even like I don't remember if it was you or Vaughn who brought it up, but a lot of these women are declaring I'm pretty sure this year. So with all the personas and characters, that they put on. I'm not saying it's fake, but just like their like attitude or whatever, it helps carry like the media coverage for it. As well as, Caitlin Clark popping off, Paige Becker's popping off, Angel Reese, all these names.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely helps a lot with their media coverage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, it's bad when like Angel Reese is a trash talker. Like she's going through what like trash talking players like men's side went through a long time ago. Like that's how you know the game is growing because like we have people being like, "Oh, get that out of my game." Like we don't need that kind of attitude. It's like, so it's definitely kind of hand on hand. Like you can say one side is boring, but the other side is like exploding and can even grow the WNBA as well. I mean, Caitlin Clark got an offer from Ice Cube, like to play
$5 million come right,
five
big three. Like
10
when's
games.
that ever happened?
That's insane.
Big
So,
Three's lit though. Like if y'all ever watch that, y'all like that's lit, bro.
yeah, it's gonna be. She better say yes, bro. Because like, if she says yes to that, that's like taking the women's game like 10 times higher. All right. Vaughn, I know you said you had some that's not technically from like people we know, but from fan bases and talk show hosts.
Yes.
So
Okay. This one, I love seeing any Hawks post either trashing or praising Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. Go to the comments. Fans are saying either trade DeJounte Murray or trade Trae Young. The Trae Young trades, they're clamoring for that. I feel like more than DeJounte Murray, which is an exciting thought because yeah, you could trade DeJounte Murray, but you probably won't get something as great of a return if you do it with Trae Young. So if they might be in a position where they gotta choose one of the two.
I feel like the only reason DeJounte went was Trae Young. So I feel like if they were to trade Trae Young, he's out of there. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
I think if anything's gonna happen though, it's gonna be Trae Young. I think Trae Young is bound to ask for a trade. Because
Like
last
there's
year
already
he almost
rumors,
yeah.
going behind the scenes, which was the whole reason why they changed coaches in the middle of the season.
Mm.
But then
Also,
again, like where would he get? Where would the Hawks trade him though, for of equal value? Because like other than the poverty teams, I feel like pretty much like every team has a good point guard.
the Grizzlies. I mean, oh no, John Morant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot. I was gonna say they need him now, but then like John Morant comes back from his injury. I don't know. I just feel like I also think we're talking about one or the other. I think Eugene's right. If Trae Young goes, that means they're gonna rebuild. So that means Murray's next for sure.
Because they already traded John Collins.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure they're probably going to trade Clint Capella if anything.
If they keep him, that would be crazy.
Right. Like they got rid of someone else. No, or am I bugging?
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think that's everyone.
Is that everyone?
Everyone else is like at the time was a big deal, but hindsight, like
right. So it's like I don't know.
Like Herter, like when Herter was traded, it was like a shock. It was like, oh my god, but like it made sense, and like now he's making a comeback.
Mm-hmm.
But like at the time, it was a big deal when he got traded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like the only one crazy enough to trade for Trae Young would be like the Raptors. Like they're done with being mediocre. They want to team him up with Scotty Barnes.
True.
And they do have pieces they could shift for it if they're willing to give up draft capital, but I know they're really picky over that sort of stuff. But, at what point are you the Hawks and you have to like move on from Trae Young?
Mm-hmm. It's not even his fault. Ooh, the Heat would be comp, but I don't know because I don't know what they would have to trade for that.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because they'll for sure be the names, but they won't get them. They never do. They never get the guy they're going after.
They'll get Chris Paul instead.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Next take was Shaq was recently on a podcast, I believe, and he was talking about jersey retirements on the Orlando Magic. He said it should be Penny Hardaway getting his jersey retired before Dwight Howard. Now, I love Penny Hardaway. I'd rather see him play in the modern day NBA, but I don't know if he gets his jersey retired over Dwight, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, Howard.
And
took them to the finals.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't think he won, but they went to the finals.
No, they definitely did. If they won, then Shaq would probably respect him a
Would
tiny
have
bit more.
never said that.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta. I feel like it just depends. I feel like
I mean,
it makes sense to retire Dwight beforehand because I agree with you, Vaughn. Like I also love Penny Hardaway. So like technically, I also think that Dwight did a lot more for the Magic than Penny did. But also franchises are kind of like weird. So I can see them retiring Penny jersey first, for sure. Just because that's how they do things.
mhm.
They don't like honoring someone too soon. Like Dwayne Wade's, how long did it take for his jersey to get retired?
Not long after he retired. It may be a couple years.
Yeah. And so I feel like
And he just got a statue, I think.
Yeah, I think, or at least plans for one if it hasn't happened yet.
Right. Shit. I was gonna say something. I forgot. Oh, I mean, Shaq has always been a Dwight Howard hater, though.
oh
So
yeah.
I feel like that's another reason why he said that. Also, given he played with Penny too, so
Yeah.
they're probably good friends or whatever. But I think he really just said that because he's a Dwight hater.
Yeah. I do think if it's anyone first, it should be Dwight for sure. Because
Yeah. It was just excluding the Shaq hating, it was just like, do you go with Penny Hardaway, guy who was probably more cemented there before Dwight, or the guy who accomplished more? You know, I think that was the fight that was going on there. Okay. Uh, there's a Jay Williams take. It's Jay Williams, okay? Like, you don't. I feel like he's not on par with Kendrick Perkins, but he's pretty close. But the way he phrased it was, he's getting texts from high level NBA folk, whatever that means. Okay. Saying they were texting him that Steph is not a leader because he can't control Draymond. That is his take.
bro, I don't think anyone can control Draymond.
I was like, bro, Steve Kerr can't even control that man, bro. Like, no, I do not agree with that at all. Throw Steph on literally, bro. No, you don't have to throw Steph on another team. Get rid of Draymond. That's all they gotta do. He's still a leader, bro. He
Yeah,
led them. He led them to what, like 4 straight finals, bro. Like, come on, bro. That's a crazy take. I'm not gonna lie.
that's
Yeah.
an insane take.
4 rings, and Draymond is like 34 years old. He's
Right.
got kids. Why does Steph have to control him?
Steph already
Steph-
got 3. It's like he don't need another one.
We also
He doing it at home.
we also got to take in the fact that like at one point they all saw each other at the same level. Like Draymond, Clay, like they were very vocal about not being below Curry. You know, they were like, "Oh yeah, all 3 of us this is our team." Clay Thompson just accepted the fact that it's like he's no longer that guy. So like, I don't know. It's weird to be like he's not a good leader because he can't control Draymond. Like that's so odd to me, bro.
Right. But then again, it's like, I mean, I'll forever view like Curry, Clay, and Draymond like, like on the same level of like leadership, not like
Yeah.
same level of play, but
Yeah.
same like level of leadership. Like they're all like captains in my opinion because they got not drafted together, but brought up through the draft, built the Warriors up, and ended up winning championships, like on some my career stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's like all sentimental and whatever, but it's like, bro, again, back to like Steph got a family, bro. Like he got to worry about the crying at home. Like he shouldn't have to worry about it at work too. Like, come on, bro. He's a full grown man. He needs to take some classes or something, bro. Them side missions the NBA put him on did not work.
No, like seriously, like This is just something the Warriors have to work around. Like it doesn't come down to Steph. It's not like Michael Jordan was responsible for Dennis Rodman. Like they
Right.
won 3 more rings with Rodman.
No,
It's such a
fam.
ridiculous thing to say.
Like they were just like Draymond just got ejected like not too long ago.
Mm.
Like I'm sorry, but like at this point, there's nothing Curry can do. This like
Nothing.
like if he's still getting ejected after almost getting kicked out of the league, like you cannot reel that man in.
If he was like of lesser importance, on the team, then maybe I'd agree with Jay Williams. But no, that is such a far out take, bro.
No, that's literally insane. All right, then we can just call it here. If you're listening on any podcast platform, make sure you give us that good old 5 stars. Make sure you leave a review. Let us know an unpopular opinion you have. For video format, we're on YouTube, so make sure you like and subscribe there. We're on all social media platforms at Spin the Rock, so make sure you check us out for clips and episode updates. Thank you for listening. We'll see you again next week.